So here we have the gifts from my good friend Ken. He's the same person who took me to Minnesota Beach to do shark tooth collecting there, fossil collecting. If you haven't seen that video, link in the description below. He also, when we met up, he gifted me a bunch of stuff. He gifted me a bunch of fossils, and then some rock material, and then this nice shiny shell in the back as well. There's more fossil material that he gifted from like the beach material. I just wanted to show you some of the bigger pieces. I've shown a lot of the smaller pieces already actually in the Minnesota Beach video, which is in the description. He was kind enough to give me a couple large chunks of tortoise shell or turtle shell. Could be tortoise or turtle. But you can see the honeycomb pattern that you would expect from turtle shell. This one even has some of like the scute, the lines between the scutes. Then there's like fragments of dugong rib bone, which is a pretty common bone fossil that you find in Florida. Then we also have all sorts of mammal teeth and tooth enamel. This is a large chunk of tooth enamel, I believe. You can see that chatoyancy. This tooth is probably a fragment of a horse tooth, but it could be another mammal. I'm not 100% sure, but that's usually the common mammal tooth that you'll find, even though it's not that common. The shark's teeth are a lot more common. This lovely chunk of green chalcedony is a choco moss agate. It's got some lovely botryoidal formations. Here's a better close-up of those botryoidal formations. A very lovely piece. I'm contemplating what to do with it because I could cut it, but there's a lot of bots all over the place and I don't want to cut through those. I want to keep those intact. So it'd be a very narrow cut and I could mess it up. But there is actually this face here doesn't really have a lot of bots in it. So I could maybe just polish up one face and then keep the other faces with the bots totally intact. This larger chunk of green is Gary Green Jasper, I believe. This will be another interesting piece to decide what to do with it. I think chopping it up into a couple pieces, maybe polishing a couple pieces, and then tumbling some of the other material might be the best action plan. I do like this section here. It's got some cool colors and patterns, so maybe I could do something with this. But who knows? Those are future plans for a rainy day or a winter day. So we've got a bunch of fossilized shells as well. A lot of these are actually the UV reactive kind, which is really exciting because that was actually one of my goals, was to try and get my hands on some, whether I collect or maybe if a kind friend would gift them to me. And Ken so kindly gifted them to me. I don't know if I even mentioned these before, so it just was by happenstance that he decided that these would be some cool pieces of Florida to take home, which I totally agree with. These two are olive shells. These two are tulip shells. I believe this one is called a bonnet shell. This one's only partially permineralized. That means it's only partially fossilized, so this coloration is kind of the original color of the shell. And this stuff, actually, this is probably a good example. The stuff that glows like the UV reactive stuff is actually what would be like the colored pattern on the shell. So for whatever reason, when these shells permineralize and they fossilize, those colorful patches, there is just some slight difference that causes them to react. These two are alphabet cones. These will react really nicely under UV light. I will show that at the end, a bunch of the specimens under UV light for you folks so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. This one I don't believe reacts under UV light, but Ken said he wanted to give me a matching pair of fossilized clams, or fossilized clamshell, so that is a cool specimen. You can see the matrix inside is still there and still solid, which is probably just a very loosely sandy kind of concreted material, so a very loose sandstone at best. We have this specimen as well. I don't remember the name, so I'll try and figure it out and throw it up later. And here is an individual bivalve shell. I think this might be a turkey wing, or it might be something else. If I'm wrong, I'll throw up the name. I think this one will UV react, but I'll have to double check. Then last but not least, this lovely kind of mother of pearl shell. This is just a regular seashell. This isn't mineralized, but it's pretty cool. You know, actually, when I was super young and my family, when we lived in Indonesia, I think I've mentioned it once or twice before on the channel. So we lived in Indonesia, but we loved to visit the beaches and do shelling. That was like my first big hobby, was shelling, collecting seashells and stuff. Of course, I was interested in fossils and minerals at that point already, but shelling was the big focus. Whenever we'd go to the beach, I'd spend at least a couple hours looking for cool seashells. And I still have those around, actually. Maybe if folks are interested, that might be a behind the scenes video I put out sometime in the future. So yeah, that's mostly all of what Ken gifted me. Of course, there's some other little fossils that I didn't show, that I showcased actually in my Minnesota beach, as he gave me some fossils that were a good example of what you could find from certain species, so I showcased those there. But please, in the description below, let me know what you guys found the most interesting out of what Ken gave me. I really enjoyed the UV reactive shells, just because that was one of my goals. And I didn't get to go on a collecting trip to look for shells, so I appreciate that he gave me some that were nice and UV reactive. In front of me now we have some specimens that I was gifted by Anthony over at Crystal Miner Rocks. We met up a couple times and did a couple trips. He went with me looking for shark teeth in Bone Valley. Link in the description below to that video, because that video will be out by the time this video is out. And we also went and looked for calcite clams, which will be a future video in the making. So he also gifted me some lovely Graves Mountain material, but then he also gave me some Somerville quarry agate. We'll start off with the Graves Mountain material. This is a lump of quartz with covered in the iridescent hematite. You can see the lovely rainbow colors in the hematite, the faces that have the hematite. Another lovely example with the hematite. And you got more on the back, some botryoidal formations, or botryoidal-like formations, but not much to iridescence. And sometimes that happens with this Graves Mountain material, is not all the hematite is iridescent. In fact, some of the material is just super shiny silver. Let's take a closer look at those nice silvery botryoidal formations. And we also have some nice, lovely iridescent formations. A very cool specimen. Similar to the last one, really nice, shiny, lustrous hematite with some iridescent features. This one has a lot more iridescence, or pockets of iridescence, but it's also got those lovely lustrous hematite botryoidal formations. Now, another Graves Mountain piece I was gifted was this piece, and all that blue that you see in there, that's kyanite blades. You can vaguely see the blade shapes in some places, but it's quite intergrown together. But it's a lovely example of what you can, what other material can expect there, along with, of course, the rutile and the lazulite, I believe it's called. That's the other type of mineral specimens you can find there. Now for the Somerville material, you can see this stuff has some lovely fortification banding. I believe this piece would be best just to cut it straight down this way and then polish it up, or maybe tumble it. But you can see it will have some lovely fortification banding. Same with this chunk. The Somerville material is kind of known for its fortification banding by the looks of it. It's less about the color and more about the banding and the patterns that occur with the banding. So this will be some exciting material to work with in the future. Then we have this lovely piece, which seems to have some brecciation occurring. And then it's just chock full of fortification banding. And on top it even has some kind of botryoidal druzy formations on the top, which is pretty cool. Some of these formations, if you cut them along this way, can have some pretty cool eye pattern effects basically. But yeah, some really cool agate material with some very fine, cool looking fortification banding. I'll definitely have to do some type of project with this material. So that was all the specimens that Anthony gifted me. Please, in the description below, let me know what you guys found the most interesting. I really enjoyed all of it. I like these iridescent hematite ones, pretty cool. These front ones, the luster of them was really cool. And the fortification banding on the agates is hard to beat. The specimens that you see in front of me right now are from Digging Appalachia. He gifted me some stuff already. He was my most recent winner of one of my giveaways, and then he sent me some cool material. And we actually had a chance to meet up closer to the end of my trip. I stopped by in South Carolina and dug for quartz at the Diamond Hill mine, and he came and joined me for the day, and I found some awesome specimens, and at the same time he gifted me some more awesome specimens. My first originally plan was to go to the Little Pine Garnet Mine. That didn't work out. And then my second plan was to go to Graves Mountain, but that didn't work out because they only open up after they do their first public dig, which was at the end of April. And I was going in the beginning of April. So that was unfortunate. And when he heard that, he decided, you know what, I need to give you some more of these specimens, which I really appreciate. So I now have a lovely large matrix piece from the Low Pine Garnet Mine. You can see the garnets, individual garnets in the green mica matrix. I'm going to see if I can maybe use my textile gun. I've heard that you can use textile guns sometimes quite successfully to get surface mica off without damaging the garnet. So we'll have to see if maybe we can do something like that. So that would be cool. Then we have this large, lovely individual garnet crystal. You can see those faces through the thin layer of mica. You can see that red almandine garnet color just poking through. And then we have another lovely polished piece. So these faces have been polished so that the mica has been worn off. And these are where the natural faces would be on this garnet, which is cool. And you can see that lovely dark red almandine color that you would expect from an almandine garnet. We got a couple more lovely South Carolina quartz pieces. This one's cool because it's a milky quartz skeletal specimen. You can see those skeletal formations on the sides. And then it's milky quartz points. And this one, the quartz is kind of like lightly glazed with just a little bit of milky quartz, which gives it an interesting little look to it. Like the edges between faces are kind of like, you can kind of see, especially in those middle ones, they kind of make this white looking outline, which is kind of cool and unique looking. And in fact, with those two quartz pieces came this bag full of quartz pieces, which I was expressly told by Digging Appalachia he wanted me to give away in my giveaways. People have given me material before to do so, and I always appreciate that because now I get to give away material that people might not be able to get their hands on, and I really appreciate that from Digging Appalachia, because now, so that in how many giveaways these go through, there will be people getting these awesome quartz specimens, which is really cool. Last but definitely not least, he also gave me another Graves Mountain specimen. He sent me some smaller specimens, and he said he wanted to give me this one in person because it's just these formations, these botryoidal stick-like hematite formations are just super fragile and wouldn't survive in the mail. But because I was there in person and could just pack it up and leave it in my vehicle safe and secure, he was kind enough to gift me this specimen. You can see the lovely iridescence of the hematite. Some people like to call this type of hematite, turgite, which I don't think is an officially recognized name, and really turgite is just iridescent hematite, but this is some really cool stuff. Here are some close-ups. You can see it's almost like stalactites and stalagmites of this iridescent hematite. Very cool formations. This section just has some very lovely colors. I've been told that you can actually acid treat some of this material to get this a sharper iridescent look. So I'll have to do some research into that, because that might be interesting now that I've got a handful of specimens gifted to me. So these are the wonderful gifts that I was given by digging Appalachia. So please let me know which ones you guys found interesting. I found them all quite lovely. I appreciated the kind gesture, especially with the specimens from places that I was planning to go to and then couldn't get to. I really appreciate that. In front of me, there is a bunch of lovely polished and rough material sent over to me by a channel supporter and friend of mine, Mike. He sent me a whole bunch of local material that he collected. Some of it he polished, tumbled and stuff like that. And some of it he's left raw so that I can work with it. And I'm just really appreciative of the smorgasbord of awesome material that he sent over to me. He gifted me a bunch of agate, a lot of it with like dendrites and kind of carnelian colors. This piece is actually a waterline agate, if you can see that. See, it kind of goes through the waterline. That's pretty cool. And you can see the banding with the dendritic magnesium dendrites and stuff, and just all the lovely colors and patterns. This piece has got lovely dendrites. I don't know if this is agatized, maybe agatized wood, or it might just be an agate that just has that kind of ring pattern in the first place. I'm not 100% sure. But this material is super awesome. And it looks like it takes a shine pretty well, and I got sent a couple pieces that look like have been through the tumbler but need to, get finished up. And so I think those will be on my to-do list for tumbling. Here's one of those agates. You can see the lovely dendritic features in there. And it just needs to probably go through the tumbler one more time. It's got a little bit of chips, so we'll work those out again and then give it a final polish. This one's got to be my favorite out of the agates. It's got waterline, but then the wear is kind of like uneven, so you get some of the waterline poking through. It's got carnelian-esque colors. It's got magnesium dendrites. It's the whole shebang, and just lovely color and patterns. Here's some of the petrified wood he sent me that was polished. You can see it's really, this one's super agatized, but you can still see the wood grain faintly throughout it. Ignore the fingerprints on this stuff. And this one you can definitely see it's petrified wood. Here's another piece. The grains are a lot more noticeable on this one. Very cool. If you didn't know, this would just look like a regular piece of wood that's a bit burnished. But in fact, once you hold it, you realize it's made of stone. It's petrified. Here's a nice raw piece that I'll do something with. Probably give it a good polish on the face or something. I like keeping this rough texture on the outside. I think that's kind of nice to keep. Here's one of the rough agates he sent me. This one's got a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's got some tubes on the outside. It's got fortification banding. It's got some yellows, kind of carnelian-esque yellows, and just all around super interesting features. I think this one will be interesting to polish up or tumble up, but we'll have to see what I decide to do with this one, because the features on it are quite interesting. Here's what I think is a raw agate. It looks like it. It looks agatey, and it's got some interesting shapes to it, so I think it'll look very interesting once it's cut up and polished. This, I think, might be petrified wood, or it might just be like a jaspy agate material. There's some other material I'll show you that kind of looks like this. Here's that other material. You can see it's got some very interesting patterns, but it's taken a good shine, and it looks like it's quite quartz rich. Could also maybe be a quartzite, like a really fine grained quartzite, but I don't think the quartzite tends to take a really good polish like this. And this piece actually has some brecciated material in it. So very interesting, very cool. I really like that kind of brecciated pattern. We've got this material, which is an interesting kind of green jasper agate material, I think. Not 100% sure, but that's what I think it looks like. It's got some interesting yellow plumy stuff in there, and then green bands and plumes and stuff, and then some white pockets of material. So I think if I throw these back in the tumbler, they should look pretty interesting. And speaking of more material, we got this stuff. I believe it might be a green rhyolite with a little bit of feldspar mixed in there, because rhyolite can do that. You can kind of get a porphyritic rhyolite. I think that this is just like a green rhyolite. The other side isn't fully polished, but this side is. So interesting material for sure. Then we got a couple mica pieces. This one actually has some garnets in it. You can see those little red almandine garnets mixed in. And then this one is just like a nice tightly compressed mica schist of probably looks like muscovite mica. So this is all the stuff that Mike sent me. I'm super thankful for the care package and all the really lovely, cool specimens. I'm looking forward to putting some of these in the tumbler and seeing how they turn out, and taking some of these to the polishing pad and seeing how they turn out, because I think there's some really cool material that I got sent that'll look really nice fully polished up, and the fully polished up material I got sent also looks super nice, so I'm looking forward to it. In fact, since we're talking about giveaways, let's do one. I believe by the time this video will come out, I'll have reached 2,000 subscribers. If not, this video will go until I reach 2,000 subscribers. But let's do a giveaway to celebrate the 2,000 subscriber mark. I have 2 giveaways, one for each 1,000, let's put it that way. And let's just quickly go through what's in the giveaways. So we do have some of that South Carolina quartz I was so kindly gifted by Digging Appalachia. We have a nice little fluorapatite crystal from the Smart Mine. We got a couple fossils from Florida, from the Peace River. This is part of a ray mouthplate, and that is a lemon shark tooth. We have a couple mucospirifer brachiopods that I was also gifted to give away to people by my good friend Kate in Southern Ontario. Each package also has a River Valley garnet. We have some specimens from Titanite Hill. This is an amphibole specimen, and this is a Titanite crystal. Each package will get a specimen like this. We have a quartz point from Central Ontario. This material was gifted to me by a friend. It comes from a location in Lyndhurst, Ontario, I believe. We've got some druzy hematite stained smoky quartz from Central Ontario. We've got a horn coral fossil from Hungry Hollow from Southern Ontario. And then each giveaway package will also receive a chunk of Amazonite that I collected myself from the Norland area. So for this giveaway, as usual, you just have to comment below. You have to be subscribed. Optionally, please like the video. That The more people like videos, the more the video gets shared to other people. So that helps spread the news that I'm doing a giveaway. And we'll say once this giveaway goes live, whether it is when this video is released, if I already have 2,000 subscribers, or when this video is released and then I hit 2,000 subscribers later, whenever I'm at the 2,000 subscriber mark, I'll give 1 week for people to comment and be subscribed. And then after that 1 week period, I will put those comments into a comment picker and pick 2 winners and get in contact with those winners and hopefully send those off. If I can't get in contact with those winners within a week of them winning, then I'll go pick some new ones and go from there. But that's basically the gist of this giveaway. Be subscribed, make a comment, and optionally leave a like on the video. So this brings us to the end of the video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I want to thank everybody who gifted me stuff, whether it was before my Florida trip or during my Florida trip. I wanted to thank you guys all for gifting me such wonderful specimens that I can add to my collection and also get to show off to other people on the channel, which I really appreciate. So thank you to Mike, Ken, Anthony, and Jesse, all for their wonderful gifts. I appreciate everything you guys gifted me. So thank you guys once again. But since this is the end of the video, I want to just say to you folks, if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. My YouTube channel does all kinds of rockhounding related YouTube videos. Mostly trips, but once in a while I get gifted stuff and I like to showcase that stuff off and thank the people who gifted me the specimens. And this is one of those videos. So I appreciate every one of you folks watching this video and liking it and commenting. Please just have a wonderful day, folks.